sounds like just
possible.
Honestly the best creative process possible, right? Where you're looking at a problem, reimagining it, and only when you look at it that way and you start to question the constraints and the variables, right? If someone introduces a new variable, e.g., there's going to be a pandemic that's going to force everyone to stay inside, that's going to result in a whole new set of businesses and infrastructure solutions out there. So you were keeping an eye on what the smartphone technology that we hold in our hands literally was doing. And you were sort of looking at Apple's roadmap and you saw they'd released this new tech and you pounced on it and you realized what can be done with this.
Yep.
So now it's not an antenna on your head anymore. Now you're actually getting a signal on your phone. So this is the state of technology right now. Okay. Yeah. New innovations are being released all the time. Entire platforms are being built, right? The smartphone is one of them. There's always new updates coming out. This happens all the time, but you weren't content. So you kept looking at this and you questioned what's next. So what happened after that?
So what happened after that is we asked ourselves, well, what useful thing can we do out of this? Something that, we ourselves would use, without trying to convince the world that this is what you need or this is what you want. It's like, well, what's something as, mundane, if it needs to be, that we ourselves would just use every day in the most simplest way. And we thought about all these different use cases. We thought about the cafe experience. We thought about all these experiences. Hospitality had lots of them. And then we just brought it right back to okay, what's the dumbest thing we can think of right now? It wasn't what's the smartest thing? We're just let's just really, really make it, simple for ourselves. And right at that time, both my co-founder and I, at the exact same moment, just looked at the office door and thought, why don't we just ditch our little key and just, put a little sensor on the door so it can detect that signal and just unlock the door for us and we can walk through. And again, with zero understanding of anything in the market or anything, just purely as simple as can this be useful just for ourselves? And that was the thing that led us into now starting writing firmware and grabbing a Raspberry Pi and learning about these electronic, switches and strikes and how they work in commercial door locking mechanisms. So we basically coded this up, and the image we had in our heads was can we create this world where you just walk up to something and, magic happens, something just takes some action for you. And so we called up a locksmith. We said to the locksmith, hey, can you come connect this thing up to the door? And this was really funny because the locksmith was just very hesitant. He was really worried, have you asked permission from your landlord to do this? What is this stuff? Because it was literally a Raspberry Pi with wires hanging off and everything. So it looked like a little bomb or something. He thought we were putting a little bomb on the door to crack it open or something. so don't worry about it. Just put this on there and hook up the strike. And he did all the work to do that. And then we got it powered up and everything. And then he stood back and we all stood back and I put the phone in my pocket. And the first moment we ever tried it, I walked up to the door and just hear this click noise of it unlocking and just walked straight through, just push it through. The first moment I walked through there, it instantly felt like this is how the whole world should work. Because finally, one little instance, this little sensor, it could have been anything, detected my signal, queried for the right information, took some action immediately just to create that experience for me to get through this door in a frictionless way. And even the locksmith was like, whoa, what the hell was that? He just immediately, his eyes opened up and he made the same sort of immediate calculations, every door is going to work like this one day. Immediately, it's when can I start to install these for other customers? And that was our entry to building tech. That was really the starting point of us just, experimenting again, proving to ourselves, can we create the experience that we have in our heads? And then realizing, hey, maybe this is not the craziest idea of, making it useful to open up doors. It's maybe actually this is a good starting point because it forces us to have to solve the hard problems. How do you make this reliable? How do you make this secure? How do you make this, privacy preserving? How do you make this something businesses want to spend money on so that you can grow your business? And that's really how the rest of Proxy started being built out. Just from that journey. But I'll say that was the moment that we knew we had something. Yeah.
When you saw people say, wow, when you yourself were excited by this and felt proud of your product, that this is how the future should look and you're working on it now, what was some of the feedback and criticism you got as you were going through this? Here's something that a lot of prop tech founders encounter, okay? They know their idea makes sense. They know the market needs this, but no one around them seems to get it. Only a few select people get it. Did you encounter that yourself?
Oh, totally. And, we didn't know anything about the space, and we, did our homework and research and started talking to others and say, would you want to use this? Would this be useful? And what we did, and this was literally now, we're YC number 3 for me, getting ready for demo day, had no, YC was actually our first customer. So we were like, okay, if we can get this to work for YC, and the front door of YC being the door that all the founders are going through, and everyone had to access, if we can get that working, then we can showcase how this could work for others. That was the worst thing ever. That was just so painful. Oh yeah, we spent that entire 3 months just trying to get that door to work. It was so painful, and we had to really learn all our hard lessons of what it took to get not just the prototype working, but something that actually could function in a door that you're not in control of. That others are now in control of this door, and they need to have certain features and functions to make it useful for them. So that was like a rapid learning process of like literally jump into the deep end and have all your peers there to say, this is shit. Why isn't it better? Why am I locked out? Why isn't it working right now? All those things are very important, hard lessons. And I would say maybe that was the best thing we had to have, dug into, because that is the resistance. You're dealing with like an existing world that has, incumbent products in the market that has been around for 20, 30 years. And now you're sort of introducing some new element to it, where the market is just not trained to do smartphone things or even web things. The market is very much trained in the world of like physical objects being delivered by channels and everyone else, integrators, and they all have a part of this process. And so suddenly you're in that world and you realize, oh, we're completely out of place here, but we still have to figure it out. We still have to make it work. And we got to a point where we got it working on the YC door, and it still gives me like shakes whenever I think about that YC door. It's still there today. One of our first ever units is a big clunky box with an LED light on there. But in demo day, the time to now present what we had. So we didn't have like an array of lots of customers. We started talking to a few of them. We started getting a lot of good feedback from Google and other companies saying, hey, if you could do this, that this would be compelling, or if you could do that, or if you can make it do this, or if you can make it talk to my backend system, or if you can make it talk to my camera system, or other things that are part of the building, then suddenly it sort of changes the equation for them. And so we kept taking notes of this. And so for demo day, we presented the concept. And then we launched a website, which was basically more of an exercise to see if we can get some pilot customers to work with us. Now, we're still a 2-person team and just barely have a product working, right?
Just basically stitched together a weird-looking device on the Y-combinator door.
Yeah.
That's all it is. And there's 2 of you guys, and you've created a website to get pilots now. So what happens next?
So we launched that website, and because we didn't have a product to show, we was literally an animation of a dog on a skateboard door, with the signal being emitted from its pocket. So that was literally, can we convey this idea? And TechCrunch does its normal YC startups launching
startups, right?
Yeah, and that sort of brought us a bit of traffic to the website. And now we were expecting to get maybe like 10 or 20 startups signing up for our pilots, because we like cool shit, come and try your stuff on our doors. And we were just blown away by what happened. We ended up getting hundreds, or it ended up being over 1,000 companies applying for our pilots. And these were like Coca-Cola, Six Flags, hotel, airlines. It was just all over the map. And it was not like, small little projects. It was like, we need to solve for like everybody in this theme park that we employ. We can't give them cards anymore because they all churn. They're only here for summer and we can't keep giving them cards. And so we need your technology right now. And we're just overwhelmed with like just so much of this coming in. And we're like, oh crap, we don't have something that we can give them all. So we took that as an exercise. Let's talk to every single one of them. Let's understand what their pain points are, what they're struggling with. And let's pick a subset of them to be our customers that can reflect the broader market. And, one of them was Uber, for example, that was willing to work with us really much at the early stage of things so that we can prove out as we're building, make it work with their physical security team so they can actually make it useful in their buildings and start getting the value out of it. And so we literally did product design on our customers' doorsteps, working closely with our customers, realizing what piece do we need to do and what piece we don't need to do. And this was really useful in figuring out how to make something work in this kind of like, highly, fixed sort of industry. By working with them, we realize, we don't have to go replace the whole end to end. We only need to be the layer that works on top of other systems. And because we care about the user experience and the signal is the most thing that's important to us, then that means we don't have to try to convince companies to rip out everything they have. We can just say, hey, keep using what you got, and then why don't you add this thing on top of it? Now you've got best of both worlds. You can keep using your badges and cards, and now you also have a smartphone solution working on top of that. And that suddenly sort of just made things so much more workable for us to have a solution in the property market that companies were willing to start to adopt and start to try out. Yeah.
Dennis, do you think if you could have got in the room with the right set of customers early on, without having the Y-combinator backing behind you, without getting the TechCrunch coverage, do you think they would have taken you as seriously? Do you think it's because you went to Y-combinator, because you're a serial entrepreneur with a good track record, and because you got covered on TechCrunch, that people immediately gave you credibility? Or do you believe you could have got the same reception if you just talked to those customers without one of those credentials behind you?
I think that's a really good question. I think, honestly, I don't know what the answer is, but my sense is that I think because of the combination of TechCrunch and the YC buzz of startups launching, and those that were looking for solutions who maybe accidentally came across an article about what this company is doing, that hit that link to go and check out our website and stuff. I don't think if TechCrunch didn't do its piece and all those things were stacked, I don't think we would have had that sort of kind of attention. At least in that sort of rapid succession where we can talk to so many customers so quickly. And I think then, as we talk to our customers, I think some of that confidence for them to want to work with us came through the fact that we're so hands-on, that we're willing to like literally work from their office floors to get it working. And then, I think maybe a bit of the YC and the rest of it, at least you got some backing to make sure you stick around. I think is like the thought process in the back of most people's heads when they want to spend time with you.
That's one of the powerful benefits of being part of an incubator and network like a Y-combinator, or in my case, where we started out at AngelPad, there was this running joke where you come in, you build a B2B company, you simply call up a bunch of alumni from Y-combinator or AngelPad, slap their logo on your deck, and now you've got instant traction. And then VCs would complain, we thought all these companies were on board with this. They were just helping each other out. You buy my product, I buy your product, we create fake traction, and that's it. But you actually solved a real problem here. This wasn't just a B2B thing. You actually went in to these customers. You used the Y-combinator, perhaps, credibility, that you go and physically solve a need.
Yeah, and that's generally my mode for things. I'll tell you, my ultimate test for like whether a product will work or not is if you don't put any energy behind it, like you don't buy ads, you don't do anything, you basically put the product out there and you step back. And if people like naturally are attracted to it and they start pulling it from you, then you've got something. If you're spending all your time trying to convince something is out there and something that you want, then you always got to question whether it's your job of convincing that's working or whether it's the product itself is adding enough value that it's it's the thing that's actually making the opportunity exist. And that's where I sort of.
Are you suggesting to, for example, prop tech founders, are you suggesting to them that they should give up if their idea isn't sticking and they should pivot and do something new?
I think they should be intellectually honest as much as possible. And the best way to do that is to try to have a set of customers that want something from you before you even finish building it, right? And this is one of the things that YC does talk about a lot is like, if you're not embarrassed, shipping your first version of your product, then you ship too late. And the reason why they do that is because it's the art of getting something out there in other people's hands that really is the proof point of, one, are they interested in this? Two, do they want to take it further? Three, do they want to spend money on it? That's the other test I have. It's like, okay, does this sound interesting to you? How much would you spend to have this today? And all of those things are kind of like trying to convince myself that this is not working or this is not what people want. Because remember, I have like this signal, walking around, this antenna in your head. We've got like plenty of ways we can try to figure out how to get this off the ground. So this is just one of them. And so I'm always trying to disprove and say, okay, this is not the way forward. This is not what people want right now. Maybe it's the cafe thing. Maybe it's something else. And so for me, it's that intellectual honesty that just like try to disprove that this is what people want.
I even wrote an article about this, and it's really try to kill your idea as quickly as possible, right? If your idea can survive, you try to constantly stab it, find a way to kill it, and it's got some meat. A lot of founders, aren't working on enough ideas, right? Yeah. So they're married to the one single idea. B, they're not being intellectually honest. They're so focused on the big picture, I want to be a success, that they're in denial about their idea. And it takes honesty, like you said, to look at your idea and see, can you kill it? Rather than trying to make it a success, how is this going to break? Tweak it. Now that I've tweaked it, can I still kill it? And it's that, when you feel like, oh my God, I can't kill this idea. This idea has merit. I'm forced to do something with it.
Oh yeah, yeah, and it's kind of like, you have this vision of where you want to take it and all these steps towards to get there, and so you want that step to be safe enough to step on, because if it just falls through, the whole thing falls apart. And so that's what you're trying to do. It's like step on. It's like, is this safe to step on? And I think a lot of good founders are always skeptical of themselves and what they're doing, and they're trying to bring in as many people to sort of pressure test their thinking, their ideas, the rest of it, And you want good critical thinkers. You don't want to just have naysayers. It's easy to be a naysayer for anything. You want people to push you on, what are some of the fundamental forces of nature in your business and what it's going to take to make it work. And you want to stress test that as quickly as possible. And you want to make sure you've got smart people around you that are really asking the tough questions to make you think about, oh shit, have I considered that? And have I considered this? And even if I'm wrong here, will this be something that's going to help it? And just you then have the eyes and ears to pay attention and to understand what you're looking at when you're looking at your business. And rarely you're looking at success as in oh, I made it. You never make it. It's a constant journey. You're constantly pushing it forward and taking each one of those steps one step at a time. And they say overnight success has taken minimum 10 years, right? It's like that's the reason why, is because it takes a lot of that time as you're understanding it better than anyone else, and then you're slowly putting all the pieces to better execute it as you're fumbling over your mistakes, but then also proving out what's real, what's not through that journey. And I think it also helps that I come from a physics background. I also did mechanical engineering, but mechanical engineering taught me how to build things, and physics taught me how to question things. And I think that's an important combination for any founder. It doesn't matter what your background is, to have that sort of mindset.
Got it. How did you select the right few customers at the beginning? If you had so much demand and so many people willing to try it out, how did you decide these are the few customers I'm going to work with and build around? And how did you make sure you didn't become a consulting shop for them?
Yep. Yeah, really good question. It's a balancing act. You want to make sure that they're committed in your success. That's the first thing. A lot of people will kick the tires and say, oh, this is really cool. And a lot of companies just want to be part of the cool kids club, right? So they're just like, oh yeah, working with this startup and stuff like that. And it never ends up anywhere. So you want to make sure that your success is more important to them than their own success. And the way you do that is you actually make it so hey, if I do these things for you, how much are you going to pay and how much are you going to deploy it? You really push it to make them have to make a decision, like a capital commitment. So they have to convince their boss, or they have to convince someone else in their company to say, yeah, we're gonna commit to this thing, and then we're gonna use it, right? So you want to get to that point as quickly as possible. And sometimes money is a good divider, because when people spend money on you, then they want you to succeed. They want your thing to work because their reputation is on the line too. So never do anything for free. Definitely do a lot of learning and try to help out for free. But when it comes to deciding which company should you work with, which company should you spend time with, they should commit to something, and they should commit to whether it's capital, whether it's their time, or whether it's making sure that this is something they're now going to use or depend on going forward. You want to get to that as quickly as possible. So you want to make sure you're talking to a decision maker. You want to make sure that this decision maker has the ability to really sort of put you into their solution set and make sure it goes under. And you want to make sure that your time frame and your level of quality is something that they want to work with. So our quality was hey, this was barely working. If you're willing to work with us to make it better, then obviously the more you guys use it, the more you give us feedback and you work with us and tell us what's working or not, the sooner we can get it working better for you. And that sort of weeds out a whole bunch of companies too, right? Because they just want the magic and they don't want to work with you to get to the magic, right? And so that's how we figured out how to sort of select the companies we're working with. There was also what's representative of the rest of the market. So we basically found it was an enterprise set that was very much looking for solutions for multinationals. They had offices in many different locations in the world, a global employee workforce, and they all needed to have like some sort of cohesion across all of that. So they were looking at us as being like a very digital way to deploy, and provision people to have access to things. So that was like one subset of things. The other one was physical security in buildings, so building technology where physical security was like saying, hey, how do we keep people safe and secure inside of buildings? And so that was another subset. We had like a cluster of customers in that world. And then we had like just the, hey, I just need something for my door right now, the small business stuff, the stuff like when we started. And so we had a small handful of them. Now, we did that intentionally because we knew enterprise is going to take a long time. CREs and everything are like, typically not innovation drivers, but they're slowly becoming. And as long as you work with the right people there, you can sort of help drive things forward. And then the last subset, the small business ones, they're the early adopters that are willing to put up with your crap and give you plenty of feedback so that you can quickly fix up your crap and make it better and better and better. So we use that as like, okay, this is going to take a long time. This is going to work much faster. We're going to rapidly evolve our products by working with this group. But at the same time, they're going to benefit from all the work we're going to do over here. And as we sort of build out our things, we're building out our solutions to open up these market segments.